The only sports betting app you need this season. STN Sports has it all. In-play betting, mobile parlay cards, the Play Plus card to fund and withdraw from anywhere in Nevada, and the latest lines on every game. STN Sports even lets you earn rewards on every bet. Safe and easy betting from your phone or tablet. Go to StationCasinoSports.com or sign up at any Station Casino, Fiesta Wildfire, or the El Cortez. Details at the sportsbooks.
A great time! Your entertainment destination, the South Point, invites you to experience the ultimate great time under one roof. Bowling, dancing, a live show, a movie, delicious dining, and one of South Point's 11 restaurants. So much to see, so much to do. You won't know where to start first. This week, make it a South Point week and discover for yourself why the South Point is your entertainment destination for a great time.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? It is Pushing the Limits time on a Hump Day Wednesday. So glad you could join us. Oh, yeah. And we're going to have some fun today. Boy, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Quickly, on a positive note, what a nice win for UNLV basketball yesterday. They beat a top 25 team in Dayton. I didn't see that coming, and I texted Kevin Kruger, and really happy for him in the program. We'll talk about that a little bit later on today. Big win for the Rebels, the running Rebels. We'll get to that in a little bit. I helped raise some money for charity yesterday at that Sapphire. They had their event raising money for cancer research, little ping pong palooza tournament. That was a lot of fun. We'll get to that. But, it's Wednesday, and that means, we're definitely going to have a good time today. No, not because Chris Wynn is here with his shirt off. That wouldn't be fun at all. No, that wouldn't be fun at all.
No, not fun at all. Keep your clothes on, Chris.
Michelle Mortensen joining us in the studio, the 8-time Emmy winner. I always love it when Michelle comes in studio. We always have good conversation. Michelle, good to see you. Thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's a little, you know you're from Vegas when you're complaining because it's 50 and windy, and we're like, dang, it's cold. Give me the flannel.
I'm cold, man. I got the winter hat on. I'm ready to go. But thanks for being here. Boy, do we have a lot to get to. So we'll get to Donald Trump here in a few minutes. I'm really excited. I love John Ralston. He's been all over national networks, MSNBC, all over the place. Just does such a great job with the local coverage here. On local politics. He's going to be joining us at around 1 o'clock today, and love talking to John. I've been bugging him all week to come on, so he's coming on today. He put out a story yesterday, Michelle, that I just want to start by talking to you about because, again, you know all the key players here in this city, including Amy Tarkanian. Listen, I haven't gotten along always with Danny Tarkanian and Amy Tarkanian. I don't think they're these horrendous human beings, okay? I just don't like their politics, and I don't like the way they go about things sometimes. But I don't think Amy Tarkanian is this awful person. I really don't. And some of the Nevada GOP leaders, they were at this event yesterday. What was the event called, Michelle?
That was the CCRP meeting. So that's the Clark County Republican Party. It's their quarterly meeting. And anyone who's on the Central Committee goes. You don't see a lot of big-name politicians there most of the time. It's a lot of the doers and the workers of the CCRP. But, of course, Michael McDonald, Jesse Law, Michelle Fiore, always there. So
Michelle Fiore gets on stage. As you know, she lost to Ford.
She lost to Conine.
Did I say Ford? I'm sorry. She lost to Conine, but Ford is a part of this story.
Yeah.
She lost to Conine. So she gets up there, and instead of blaming themselves like the clown Michael McDonald is, I like to call him Ronald McDonald, but Michelle Fiore gets on stage, and John Ralston talked about this, and she called Amy Tarkanian a whore.
Yeah.
She called her a whore because Amy Tarkanian did not endorse Michelle Fiore. So called Amy a whore.
And accused her of potentially sleeping with Aaron Ford. Yeah. Both these people are married. He's our current attorney general. Now, Tarkanian did support Aaron Ford, but to make accusations of infidelity like that without any proof whatsoever.
So despicable.
That's really classless.
So despicable. And here's what makes it even worse. And I was just talking to one of the clowns that was there last night. I'm not even going to say his name, who ran for office. I said, how can you allow this to happen? Why didn't somebody stand up and say, Michelle, this is unacceptable. You can't talk like that. Why didn't anybody say anything? You got Michael McDonald standing there being the clown that he is, laughing, and they allow this to happen, to defame somebody and call somebody a whore. Why? Because they didn't support you?
No, I'll tell you why. It's an effort to deflect. So rather than saying, hey, Republicans, particularly in Clark County, you did a horrible job getting out the vote.
Right.
In Clark County, you didn't do a great job making sure that we had a win when the Republicans basically won in every other single county but Clark. So rather than saying, hey, we need to take ownership of this, the best thing to do is to deflect and say, see, it's Amy's fault. Because if Amy and Danny hadn't been supporting Aaron Ford, Segal would have won. If Amy and Danny hadn't been supporting Zach Conine, Fiore would have won. It's a deflection tactic.
Well, Michelle, I think you're 100% right. I agree with you. And that's kind of like what John Ralston is alluding to. Instead of looking in the mirror themselves, it's one thing to just blame others. That makes you a coward. But to call somebody a whore? Listen, I'm going to defend Amy Tarkanian on this one until the cows come home. And if a Democrat did this, I'd be doing the same stuff. But I'm not surprised that Michelle Fiore spoke like this. This is the woman who put underwear on her face during COVID. She's said and done despicable things in the past. Thank God she lost. But what's so troublesome to me is that you have the Republican chair standing there with his thumb up his butt, laughing. Nobody interrupted her. Nobody took the microphone from her. Nobody even afterwards took the microphone and said, hey, those were inappropriate comments. Anybody of decency would have done that. But guess what, Michelle? Nobody in the room did it. They allowed her to say what she said, and they could say today, oh, you know what? I don't condone that. Really? Well, why didn't you say something yesterday? I'll tell you why. Because you're a coward. That's why. Have there been any Democratic events in the state of Nevada where a Democrat got up on a stage and lost an election or won an election or any event and called a Republican a whore? Or a Democrat a whore? I can't recall that. Am I saying Democrats are perfect? No, that's not what I'm saying. But these are the extremists in the Republican Party. This is their behavior. This is the way they act. Now, I will give Adam Laxalt some credit. And you know, if you're an election denier and you're conceding, I'm going to give you some credit. Adam Laxalt did concede last night.
Yeah.
I'm happy he did that. Adam Laxalt didn't call anybody a whore, so I'm glad to hear that.
Well, it would have been highly inappropriate.
Yes.
If he had.
So anyway, it's terrible, isn't it? So John Ralston's going to be joining us at the top of the hour, and I'm going to get his thoughts on this. And I learned this information from John Ralston, and he's going to join us, so we're going to talk about that. And I know we are all in agreement here that beyond disgusting and inappropriate comments. But Michelle, do you get my point? It's like you have all these people in a room, some top Republicans, and nobody stood up and said, that's inappropriate, that's wrong, we shouldn't be talking like that. Not one person.
Well, I mean, I think when you think of the people who were there, of the top Republicans who were there, it's the CCRP members who are in alliance with Michelle Fiore. So who would have been the one who would have...
Michael McDonald.
But
he's the chair of the party.
But he's in alliance with Michelle. He's the reason why Michelle has the position as Central Committee woman. So they're all a tight little clique, so they're not going to challenge one another. I think the bigger point is that the normal Republicans, the normal conservatives in the state wouldn't be caught dead at one of those meetings. I don't ever go to those meetings. A lot of the Republicans I know would not be caught dead at those meetings. And what they did there, and what McDonald did and others, was they blamed it all on the division. And they were saying, we lost because people like Amy Tarkanian, Carrie Book, others, they created division in the party. Mm-hmm. And it's a great excuse as to why we lost. But the truth of the matter is, and I think Adam Laxalt actually in his concession tweet, because there wasn't a concession speech, but a concession tweet, kind of alluded to that at the end of the day, we have to learn how to start running elections differently. We can't continue to do it the same way that we have year after year after year and pretending that we're running elections in 1988. It's 2020 and we have to change with the times, and we have to do a better job as Republicans. And I, for one, as a Republican in the state, I want to carry that banner and carry that torch to do things differently so we can win in the future. I think what Michelle Fiore is doing is looking to pass the buck and blame. You know, a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about Amy Tarkanian. I am not someone who has said She's not someone I like to chat about a lot. Does she have a drinking problem? Yes, it's a well-known drinking problem. Is that the right time to bring it up?
Irrelevant.
Absolutely not.
Irrelevant.
I mean, these are irrelevant things. Just because we know information doesn't mean that you make it an issue. Do you know what I'm
I would
saying?
never use that word ever towards an Amy Tarkanian. Now, maybe a Lauren Boebert, maybe a Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I wouldn't say that about.
But did we not just say try before the show? Let's not call anyone a whore today.
I'm being a little facetious, but the point being is that I've had a lot of differences with the Tarkanians.
Yeah.
Amy Tarkanian and Danny Tarkanian have done my show dozens of times.
Right.
I've always been respectful to them. We've had some back and forths on social media, and I think Danny Tarkanian blocked me eventually. And, I kind of made fun of the fact that his last name's Tarkanian and he can't win a race here in Clark County. But I never, ever would go to that level of stupidity and call somebody that. And
well, love or hate the Tarkanians, and the opinions are vast on that particular political couple. They've never been afraid of doing media, even media
Correct.
that might be confrontational.
And by the way, they don't call people whores either. So Michelle Fiore.
They've called me some names.
Well,
they're my friends. So
calling names is one thing, but when you call somebody a name like that because they didn't support your candidacy, that's another level. Let me be very clear on this. And I'm talking about Michelle Fiore right now.
yeah, please make the distinction that you're
Yes.
not talking about me.
No. Talking about Michelle Fiore. You two are very, very different people and for a
Very.
lot of different reasons.
I'm a lot thinner.
Well, you have, that's also true. She is disgusting inside and out, Michelle Fiore. Let me be very clear on this. Michelle Fiore is a horrible human being. I believe her to be a racist. I believe her to be another Trumplican who wears the Donald Trump knee pads. She has no class. She is a criminal, and she is a horrific person. I'm glad she lost her race. Amy Tarkanian is not a whore. And the reason why Amy Tarkanian didn't support Michelle Fiore is probably for a lot of the same reasons why Michelle Fiore did not win.
right.
She is a bad candidate. She is an awful person. And she showed her true colors, as did some other Republicans, like Ronald Michael McDonald. They showed their true colors last night, and they played the blame game, and they didn't look in the mirror themselves. The reason why some of these Republicans lost is because of this kind of behavior, calling people whores, saying that you want your opponent to be hanging from a crane, election deniers, QAnon nonsense. This is why you all lost. You didn't get any votes from people like me, independents, or even moderate Republicans. That's why you lost. And for nobody at that event last night to call out Michelle Fiore and take the microphone from her and say that is inappropriate. You are entitled to your opinions, but we are not going to defame people and call people whores, says everything you need to know about every single person that was in that room last night.
It also, they're blaming the other side, whether it's the Tarkanians or the Bucks or the others, for the division. Yep. But at the end of the day, these types of fighting words create more division. And honestly, what the Nevada GOP needs to do right now, as a member of the Republican Party in this great state, is we need to be unified. So at some point, you have to put the fighting aside, and we have to start focusing on winning. But that's the problem here. It's too many people are fighting for power and position rather than the greater good, which would be having Republicans win.
No, I'm with you, and we agree on this. I just don't hear a lot of staunch Republicans calling out Michelle Fiore. Listen, Oscar Goodman.
It's too scary to do that for a lot of people.
Well, it's not scary. The only scary thing for me would be if I had to sit next to Michelle Fiore. But Oscar Goodman, who I respect and love very much, he's like the cool grandpa that I never had. He endorsed Michelle Fiore, so I'm going to text Oscar and I'm going to see if he'll come on and he'll respond to this. But anyway, let's move on to some national stuff. We'll rejoin this conversation with John Ralston at the top of the hour, Michelle. So as you know, the Orange Turd had an announcement to make yesterday. See, I call people names too. I wouldn't call Donald Trump a whore, though. Maybe some other people, but I'll keep that one quiet. Anyway, Donald Trump announced yesterday this. We're going to play this clip for you. This was at the beginning of his speech. Here's Donald Trump, the Orange Turd himself, at Mar-a-Lago yesterday, announcing this.
Always have known that this was not the end. It was only the beginning of our fight to rescue the American dream. And it's a word you don't use. 2 words. I don't want to be Joe. It's 2 words, American dream. That was not good what he did. There are a lot of bad things, like going to Idaho and saying, welcome to the state of Florida. I really love it. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Wow, what a shocker. Wow, what a surprise. Michelle, what's your response to that?
I mean, we're not surprised. We're not shocked. I think we all knew it before the election when he was in Ohio. He said, I'm going to make a big announcement on this Tuesday. We all knew it was coming.
He's getting breast reduction. That's what I thought it was going to be.
I think so on one hand, I think since we all knew it was coming, great. You got it out there. It's official. Now we can focus on what other Republicans are joining in the fight. And now is really where I'm curious to see, is Glenn Youngkin going to pull the trigger? Is DeSantis going to pull the trigger? Is Mike Pompeo going to pull the trigger? There are so many names out there that I think are going to look to challenge him. But the big problem is that I feel that Donald Trump's base of support is still large enough among the Republican primary voters that he will win the nomination, even if we have some great people. Like I'm a Ron DeSantis person, so I'm already, even though he hasn't said he's running, like I'm already supporting Ron DeSantis.
Yeah. So, I mean, this will be interesting how it plays out. But here's a little bit more of Donald Trump from yesterday. Have a listen to this.
This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign all together. Because the only force strong enough to defeat the massive corruption we are up against is you, the American people. It's true. The American people, the greatest people on earth. We love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together. We're going to unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration, previous to the previous. And what was bringing them together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me.
Anyway, yeah, the first person I think of about unifying people and bringing people together, the first person I think of is Donald Trump. By the way, where have I heard that one before? There are good people on both sides. He talks about massive corruption. Meanwhile, the guy's under investigation, like 80 different investigations. I don't know. Am I just crazy, Michelle, that when I think of bringing people together, the last person I think of is Donald Trump? Am I wrong in thinking that?
Well, I think the fact that just when he did that Pennsylvania rally, he referred to Ron DeSantis as Ron DeSanctimonious.
Right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I've never looked at Donald Trump as a unifier. I look at Ronald Reagan as one of the great unifiers, right? Sure. Donald Trump is more of a wrecking ball. And I've always said that, so I'm not saying anything I haven't said over the last, I guess,
Michelle,
6
do
years.
you believe him when he says, this isn't my campaign? This is our campaign. I'm doing this for you.
This is why I do believe that, because his base of support is all that he needs. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the big donors, like the head of BlackRock, have said, I'm not going to support you. The media gives him earned, so he doesn't even need money or high dollar donors at this point, because the media gives him earned media. He's going to be on TV every single day now.
I know, but when he makes that claim, he's making it out, well, I'm really not doing this for me. I'm doing this for you.
I mean, he's doing it for him. And I think the thing that saddens me is I wish that he would be a former president already, and that we could usher in the new blood, because the last thing I want is, a 70-year-old and an 80-year-old running for president in 2024. I don't want it.
I don't want an 80-year-old running for president either, referring to Joe Biden. But I'll tell you what I don't want even more than that. Donald Trump. He is a divider in chief. He is the definition of corruption. I mean, I can go on and on, but here's a little bit more of what Donald Trump had to say yesterday.
Order. I will restore public safety in American cities and other communities that need our help. And if they don't want our help, we're going to insist that they take our help this time. Because, the Democrat governors, these are all Democrat cities. The governors and mayors are supposed to ask for the help, and they would never ask for the help. And yet people are being shot and killed at random like nobody's ever seen before. And we sent in the National Guard in Minneapolis and in other places. In Seattle, we went and we were getting ready to go, and they took over part of the city. And the governors, the Democrats, don't want to ever ask to do anything because they don't want to shake things up. In the meantime, the cities are rotting. And they are indeed cesspools of blood. So we're going to go and help them even if they don't want the help. We will give our police back their authority, resources, power, legal protection, and we will give them back their respect. They're great people. And I will immediately launch a no-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle the gangs and clean out the nests of organized street crime.
Did you know that Only under Joe Biden, people were being shot and killed. When Donald Trump was president, nobody was being shot. No, there was no gang violence. By the way, why didn't Donald Trump call the National Guard on January 6th? It's interesting. He wants to talk about a couple of these Black Lives Matter protests where he called them the National Guard and wants to be some hero. But when the Capitol was being stormed and people were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," it's interesting. Trump didn't call the National Guard. It's interesting how he doesn't want to talk about that, though. But I don't know. Did you know that, Michelle? Nobody was shot and killed under Trump. It's only Joe Biden.
Well, I think if we want to... I think Trump's making a good strategy there at the end of the day if he's going to talk a lot about crime and empowering police, because one of the top issues, at least in the midterm elections, which also I believe were a referendum on Trump, but people across the board kept saying it's all about crime. It's the economy and crime. So I think crime and the economy will continue to be big issues. If he can stay on topic and he can stay on task, I actually think that's a good thing. The question is, will he be able to?
He can't. That's my opinion. That's number one, based on his behavior. And number two, if he wants to call himself the law and order president, again, I go back to January 6th. That was the opposite of law and order. He incited an insurrection. People died. He didn't call the National Guard, but he wants to brag about calling the National Guard for Black Lives Matter protests.
And we want to be careful about calling the National Guard as well, because we don't want martial law in effect in this country either. So I think one of the things I think crime's a big issue, but I think the bigger issue is that that's more of what the gubernatorial candidates or our governors are doing. That's more of what your state representatives are doing, because they're the ones who deal with crime. Crime is a local issue more than a national issue, but I think it's smart to focus on it for his benefit if I'm advising him.
I agree with the sentiment. I agree with you that law and order and crime is a big issue. I'm just simply telling you the last person I want to hear talking about law and order is the criminal himself in Donald Trump. He's under investigation every which way. All right, here's one more clip, a little bit more of what Donald Trump had to say from last night.
The world was at peace. America was prospering, and our country was on track for an amazing future, because I made big promises to the American people, and unlike other presidents, I kept my promises. I kept them.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. That's a lie. And by the way, I'm going to go into some of the lies, but let me just start out by saying this. He said he was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. He campaigned on that. That did not happen. Mexico did not pay for a wall. That didn't happen. He said that COVID was going to disappear by Easter. That did not happen. Look at how much debt he put this country in. He said he wasn't going to do that. So let me just give you a few other of the big lies, Michelle, and then I want you to, when I say big lie, I'm not talking about election denialism, but he claimed that the missile was sent in probably by Russia to Poland. That was a lie. In Afghanistan, he claimed that the U.S. left $85 billion in military equipment. According to our own CIA, that was around $7 billion. It wasn't $85 billion. That is a lie, a gross lie. And among other things, he claimed that the climate change may affect us in 300 years. That is also a blatant lie. In Mexico, he claimed the border wall was completed. Like I just said, it was not completed. That's a lie. He claimed Obama took a lot of things with him as far as presidential records. That is absolutely a lie. That did not happen. In fact, it was said to the opposite, that the library or that holds all those records, they took some documents. Obama never took any. So again, a speech that was full of lies and mistruths. And when you say, he's got to stay on point, clearly he wasn't even capable of doing that yesterday.
And if I were him, I would have talked about a lot more about my record of the things that he did accomplish that were good. I know you and I disagree on this, but his tax cuts, I believe, were very good. I believe what he did with the Abraham Accords were freaking phenomenal. Absolutely amazing the way he was focusing on peace in the Middle East. And I don't think anyone on the right or the left can disagree with that. I feel that he was very strong on getting rid of threats of terror, whether it was what was that guy's name? Soleimani. I'm going to screw up his name, but you know who I'm trying to say right now. I think he had a lot of wins, and I wish he had focused on that a little bit more. One of the things that frustrates me as a journalist and as a Republican with Donald Trump is that he's a bit of an exaggerator. So much of what comes out of his mouth is hyperbole, where it would have just been so much better if he was like, you know what, the Afghanistan withdrawal was a debacle, because in my opinion, it 100% was. Did we leave billions of dollars equipment there? Yes, we did. But he had to put on a number to it that was fictitious. If you had just said what I'd said, you left billions of dollars, it would have been accurate.
So here's my problem with him ever bringing up Afghanistan. And by the way,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
People who worked underneath him, including Bolton, have confirmed this. I don't think Bolton is lying about our national security. Donald Trump's policy was nearly exactly the same to what Joe Biden did as far as the withdrawal.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, as far as the weapons that were left behind, the rhetoric that I hear from not you, but a lot of people on the extreme right, like the Donald Trumps of the world, is that, oh, he left it for the terrorists. That is not true. He left it for the government there. The government left it behind. And then the terrorists were able to grab those weapons. That was not Joe Biden's fault. That's number two. Number three, one person who loses their life as a service member is a tragedy. It's horrible. And my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of these heroes. But with that being said, we've never withdrawn from a war where we haven't lost lives. Number four, it's interesting how many Republicans don't want to talk about the troops that died in Afghanistan under Donald Trump in 2017, in 2018, in 2019. I don't want to use those lives as political pawns. But if Donald Trump and any of his people behind him want to talk about how Joe Biden killed 13, service members, it's not only disgusting and wrong, but just look at the facts. Trump wanted to get all those people out. He wasn't going to leave troops. Just ask Bolton.
I think it's hard to defend the withdrawal because if you remember back to August.
I'm not defending it.
No, I guess
I'm not defending it.
So I think if you remember back to August of 2021, you had critics on the right and the left. You had pretty much all of the media saying, this is horrible. So that's a standalone fact. The withdrawal was very bad. Both presidents, Biden and Trump, did want the withdrawal. And I am one of the few Republicans who said, with both of them, that is a horrible idea and we should not be doing it.
So, Michelle, I agree with you. I want to be very clear. I am not saying that the withdrawal was done correctly.
Yeah.
I am not saying that the policy of what went on was done the right way.
Right.
I believe lives could have been saved if they left some troops there. No question. All I'm simply saying, and I think you understand what I'm saying, is that Trump's policies were literally exactly the same. The only difference was, and people, again, I shouldn't say people, Republican Trump supporters don't want to talk about this either. Trump released 4,000 terrorists. That is not an opinion. That's a fact. He released 4,000 terrorists to have a little peace there for a few weeks. And by the way, when he talks about how the world was at peace when he was president,
he's talking about the Abraham Accords, and like I said, that was phenomenal. The peace that that was happening between Arab countries and Israel was something that we have not seen since the Carter administration.
But the world wasn't at peace.
Well, but we were. Okay, so he did not get reelected, so we did not get to see the full effect of what could have happened with the Abraham Accords. But what was happening was huge and immensely significant.
Some of his policies could have worked. I hear what you're saying.
We were on an amazing pathway, and there's no other president who did what happened in the Abraham Accords.
Okay.
And that's just a fact. So like him or hate him, it's a win in his column.
Okay, that could be a win, but when he says the world was at peace, that is obviously not true. The world was not at peace.
The world's never at peace.
Okay, well, he's the one who made the statement, not me. Again, a gross, and by the way, this country hasn't been at peace either. And it's been getting worse ever since he was elected president in 2016. If you don't believe me, again, go back to January 6th and the video there. But anyway, she's Michelle Mortensen, 8-time Emmy winner. I am Brian Shapiro, 0-time Emmy winner. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll take some phone calls. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump announcing officially last night? That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the orange turd Cheeto Jesus himself announcing.
Oh my God, Brian, these nicknames.
Cheeto Jesus. What, you don't like Cheetos? What's wrong? He announced. Tell me his skin doesn't look like Cheetos.
I know, but it's just not appropriate, Brian.
Oh well.
You wouldn't let me call Biden names, so don't call.
As long as you don't call me a whore, just don't do that.
I'm not going to call you.
Okay,
a whore.
Thank you.
Wouldn't it be more like quarter pound Jesus?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Jiminy Snickets.
What's the problem with me calling him Cheeto? Do you not like the Cheeto or do you not like the Jesus in that nickname?
But it's that if I was calling Biden names, you wouldn't really like it. So I'm saying he's still a former president. He deserves enough
You can call
respect.
Joe Biden old. No,
that's not calling him a name. That's a fact.
Let me be very clear. All right, so Michelle, just to be clear, I'm going to be very clear. Donald Trump doesn't get any respect from me.
I know he doesn't.
Zero.
And I'm just saying.
And do you know why?
Yes.
Because Joe Biden doesn't have kids with several different women. He hasn't cheated on every wife he's ever had. He doesn't go after women on looks.
But he's still a former president.
I think, okay.
And just like I feel that we need to offer respect to, as a lifelong Republican who freaking loved Dan Quayle as a child,
Mm-hmm.
I respect Obama. I respect Clinton. I think Clinton's actually a really dirty old man. But I don't, I would never disrespect him. I guess I just call him dirty old man.
Okay, well, I guess we disagree because
factual.
I've been on the record as calling Bill Clinton a rapist. And by the way, I don't use that term lightly, by the way.
So I guess I was a little kinder with dirty old man.
Okay, well, listen, I respect Bill Clinton as the president, what he did for this country. I don't respect Bill Clinton as the person.
Thank you.
I don't respect Donald Trump as the person or the president. Did he do some good things? Sure. He embarrassed this country. He is a horrific human being. You know why the reasons why I don't like Donald Trump.
I'm not saying I don't know the reasons. I'm just saying that I feel like we are in a bad place in this country, a very bad place in this country right now, where you can't have jokes anymore. No one believes the media. Just everything is wrong. And I think one of the biggest steps forward is just a level of respect.
Well, my parents taught me at a young age, you give respect and you earn respect. Okay. Donald Trump doesn't respect anybody. He doesn't respect members of his own family. He certainly doesn't respect people that are at a different color or different race or background. He certainly doesn't respect women. He doesn't respect POWs. You know what he said about John McCain. He doesn't respect people who serve this country honorably.
I wouldn't be so hyperbolic in that. If you told me he doesn't respect John McCain, I would say I agree with you. But to make that blatant statement that he doesn't respect all POWs is somewhat false, because he doesn't feel that way about all prisoners of war. He said that about John McCain. So he was very specific.
He said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured.
That's correct.
That is an assault on words to any single person who has been a POW. And I've talked to Republicans that have served this country.
He should never have said it. So I'm not condoning
blatant
what he
disrespect
said.
towards
But I'm saying I don't think you can make these parallels that he disliked John McCain, so he hates all prisoners of war. I feel that's a step too far, and that's the type of hyperbole that I want to step back from.
Okay, well, I don't think he respects any service member because he shows that with his behavior. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. We just agree to disagree.
I mean, and again, when you constantly disrespect women, and if you want me to just say John McCain, I think that's disrespecting all POWs when you make statements like that. When you attack women on looks, when you attack brown people, when you defend the Confederate flag.
You know what's so confusing about him, if I could be so honest?
I can't respect anybody like that.
He hired more women and put more women in cabinet and White House positions than any other previous president. Yet he has also been one of the most disrespectful people of all time to women, whether it was Megyn Kelly, Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's so hard.
By the way,
to
a lot of
comprehend.
those women quit, by the way.
At times, because he has been such an elevator of women, and then such a putting women down.
Can I be frank? I don't think he hired a lot of these women because he thought they'd be great at what they do. And by the way, plenty of women with great resumes and intelligent women. I think he hired some of these women because he liked looking at them. That's the kind of person Donald Trump is, to be frank. And by the way, if you're talking about administrations, look at all the minorities and the women that under Joe Biden's administration. Not many minorities under the Donald Trump administration. It was very, very white. Anyway, going back to what you just said, that's just my personal opinion. I tend to respect people, even people that I disagree with. Like, for example, Guy Nora was on the show this week.
Yeah.
I respect the heck out of him.
I do too.
I don't agree with him on things,
Great
but I
Republican.
have the utmost respect for him. I don't like Sam Peters, the candidate, but I respect his service to this country. Same thing with Mark Robertson, okay? I don't have anything, and by the way, Donald Trump dodged the military several times. I have zero respect for Donald Trump. If he did, then I wouldn't doubt that.
He was a draft dodger, remember?
Yeah,
that came out back in when we were too young to follow that race.
I don't respect Bill Clinton, the human being, and I never would say I do. I just tend to respect people that deserve respect. And to me, just because you're a former president of the United States doesn't mean that we automatically have to respect you no matter what you do in your life. Donald Trump is a snake oil salesman coward. It's what he's done his entire life, and I will never respect this man. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't root for death. I don't root for any of that stuff. That's not who I am. But the day we lose Donald Trump, in my personal opinion, the day he is no longer on this earth, there'll be one less piece of human garbage on this planet. That's my personal opinion. I can't be more clear on that. All right, let's take a few calls. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation. I was going to take a break, but let's take some phone calls. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to John. John, what's going on?
Brian and Michelle, how are you guys?
Hey, John, how are you? I feel like we're buds now after our last breakthrough last week.
I don't know, Michelle. You're starting to say some stuff already that's got me on edge.
Okay.
But, hey, I didn't call to talk about Trump, but I did think it was awesome what the New York Post did today with the front page. That was phenomenal. The Florida man makes an announcement. That's the only headline they put on the front page, which is absolutely phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I called to talk about Amy Tarkanian, but you got me going again, Michelle, with this Trump guy. And when we talk about Trump and women, please answer this question honestly, Michelle.
Sure.
He was sued, accused of sexual assault by 27 women. He was on a hot mic with one of the Bush boys, specifically saying because he's a celebrity, he can walk up to strange women and grab them by the kitty cat. Now, that to me is disqualifying in and of itself. How can you possibly gloss over that?
Oh, I don't. He wasn't talking to one of the Bush boys. He was talking to some Inside Edition host, someone who's very relevant.
Billy Bush.
Oh, yep. Billy Bush. That's what he meant. Okay, there you go. Sorry, John. I was like, I don't remember him having that conversation with W. When that happened, I was still on air at Channel 8, and I could not be very political in a lot of the things that I said back then. But even then, I was like, Donald Trump needs to shut up. And I was appalled by what he said.
No. This isn't about politics. This is about human nature. This is about morals. This is about decency.
Right. It's not the way saying I'm going to grab him by the pee was not anything decent or moral or right in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it was. So you're not going to get that from me. I'm sorry.
Did you vote for Trump?
I did vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Trump because I thought he was a moral and righteous man. I voted for Trump because I did not want Hillary Clinton. And as a lifelong conservative, I sometimes vote not for the person, but I vote for the party. Yeah. And that is 110% what I did, John.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't get over that. I didn't call to talk about Trump. You just set me off there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I called to talk about Amy Tarkanian. And as you know, Brian, I went to Costco the other day, and I bought a box of popcorn with 44 bags. I think I'm going to jump in my car after your great radio show's over and go buy another box because the Republican Party's imploding on the national scene, no question about it. But, hey, the great John Ralston, fellow Cornell grad, pointed out that he's not going to echo what was said last night because of defamation. It's I was a lawyer in a past life. It's per se defamatory when you accuse somebody of sexual impropriety.
Right.
And Danny Tarkanian is no stranger to suing people. I was right yesterday.
Sue the hell out of her. Sue the hell out of Michelle Fiore.
It's coming, baby. Vegas just
I'm all for it, John.
John, I
am all for it, my friend, and I appreciate the call as always. Good to hear from you.
Hi, John. I'm glad you called.
Popcorn.
Okay, so I have a question for Michelle.
Okay, yeah.
Before we take another call, and by the way, the number to call, 702-221-7283. This tweet, it's not my question, but I'm going to read it. It's from Ron Flipkowski, who is a pretty good follow on social media. He said, I have a question for my Republican friends. Explain to me why, in his 32 posts attacking fellow Republicans and praising himself, did your fake patriot, draft-dodging, makeup-wearing, lumpy, patsy, soft cult hero not say or post one effing word about Veterans Day?
I have no idea. I will say that he probably should have. As a former president, you probably always should. Mm-hmm. He's not on Twitter anymore, though. So where would he post it?
On Truth Social. Truth Social.
Okay, but who? Okay, so my little Republican friends are probably going to be so mad at me, and they're going to want to excommunicate me. But who the fudge is on Truth Social?
You know what's interesting?
It's
me.
No, Justin, you're only on there to follow Donald Trump. You're not on there because it's a cool platform.
I post daily.
No, you don't.
You want to bet?
Hey, Justin.
I don't.
Why is it that lately we've been getting Republicans coming in studio and they keep saying, "Well, my Republican friends are going to hate me for saying this."
I know. It's all the time.
I bring out the best in them, don't I? It's amazing what logic will do to Republicans sometimes. I like it.
I think you're being a little unfair there, but it's because there's a base, right? And so I am getting more and more comfortable with being the Republican who kind of bucks the system.
Understood.
But just like John's not going to the last caller. He's not going to magically ever love me. He's never going to like me. He's always going to want to fight with me, and that's okay. But I've proven to John and others that I'm at least willing to go out there and say what I really think rather than just doing what the base wants all the time.
Understood. 702-221-7283. Again, that number, 221-7283, if you want to join the conversation. Let's go to Carl. Hi, Carl. What's going on?
Hey, hi, Brian, Michelle. You talking a little earlier about McCain and what Trump said about him. Well, let me remind you of a certain fact. There was something at one time called the Trump Foundation, set up for wounded service people and wounded veterans. And it was shut down by the government, fined millions of dollars because you know why? He was paying his children and himself salaries out of that foundation. I hope you remember that.
Yeah, no
That's
question.
That's how much he thinks.
No,
That's how much he thinks of service people.
No question. I agree with you. And listen, anybody who thinks that Donald Trump is doing this because he cares about you, let me be clear on this. Donald Trump hates you. He hates common, regular, everyday people. He doesn't like you. If you go to Mar-a-Lago, what type of people do you think are hanging out at Mar-a-Lago? The white elites of this country. Donald Trump doesn't hang out with normal, everyday people. Donald Trump hates you. Most of the people that vote for Donald Trump are the ones that he despises, and he's basically said that. You know, I mean,
but not that. I was just getting into what I was trained in. The man, psychologically, he is a extreme egomaniac. His egomania is just completely wild. It's only himself. He doesn't care what happens to anybody else except himself.
Well, that's definitely evident. Carl, do you think that Donald Trump has a really good chance to win no matter who he runs against in 2024? I'll ask you first, and then I'll ask Michelle that question.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Michelle, do you agree?
I don't think so.
What do you think, Michelle?
I do think that Trump will likely win the nomination.
Yeah.
I believe Trump would lose.
Agree.
In November.
You agree that he will beat DeSantis. If it's him and DeSantis, that'll be fun to watch, though, because he's just going to...
Unfortunately, so I don't want to say that because I want to hold out hope and I want to be positive and believe it can be my boy DeSantis. Or heck, I'd even be like on Team Youngkin. If it's like, Youngkin can do it, I would be okay with that, right? But at the end of the day, I feel that way. And I don't know how many of your listeners or Carl, who's on the line, if they watched the show Yellowstone. But in Yellowstone, it just premiered on Sunday, season 5, and John Dutton became governor. And while he's governor, he's saying something to the effect that he wasn't really there for the people of Montana. He was there for his family and his ranch. And I thought to myself for a minute, oh my God, that's very Trump-esque in that I do agree with what Carl said, is that there is a part of it that Trump does what is best for Trump. Trump does what is best for Trump's family. And Trump is an extreme narcissist. And I think anyone who denies those facts is just denying reality.
Well, somebody
it doesn't
that would
make me less of a Republican to state the obvious, because I will always be a hardcore conservative, but I don't have to lie. I don't have to be in denial.
I agree.
Facts.
I agree with you. Carl, thank you for the call. Good to hear from you. Michelle, I have to bring this up, though, because you have said on this show that you're a Kari Lake supporter.
What I said was if I were in Arizona, I would be voting for Kari Lake.
How?
Because she was so much better than Katie Hobbs, because I think both you and I agree that Katie Hobbs was not a fantastic candidate in any way, shape, or form. And while I think she made a huge error in judgment being an election denier and making that a hallmark of her campaign, there were a lot of things about her that I really liked. And as a former TV anchor myself, I could not help but support her, just like my friend Eric Sorensen, who is now in Congress, who was a former meteorologist.
But as a former TV anchor and a member of the media, her attacks on the media are disgusting.
I didn't love that. And I know that I've walked a fine line with this too. So all I can say is it's very hard, is that I do believe that there are problems in media. And I could talk to you about the problems that I see in media till the cows come home.
There are always going to be
always
going to be problems with the media, but she has made some terrible comments.
When she made that, for example, she saw,
I'm going to make the next 8 years of your life a living hell. She says that to members of the media. Screw you.
So she was approached by a CNN reporter who asked her for an interview.
Yeah.
And she was very catty, and she said, only if it's on CNN Plus. Oh, it's no longer there because no one wants you.
Yeah.
That made my skin crawl a little bit, because at the end of the day, I can't tell you how many times I've been the reporter going up to a politician with a mic in my hand asking for the interview. I was not the enemy. Whether I was a Republican or a Democrat, nobody knew, but I was not the freaking enemy.
Well,
let's not treat the media like an enemy. That I had a huge problem
Donald
with.
Trump's platform.
But as a member of the media for 20 years, 8 Emmys, all the awards that I've gotten, I have more authority than anyone who could call in or anyone else to say there are problems in the media, and let me show you what these problems are.
But there's a fine line between saying there are problems in the media and then having a candidate attack the media every day. Also, Kari Lake, a group of people in a room in Arizona, plenty of John McCain supporters in Arizona, she told them all to go to hell.
Well, and that's where I think I look at Arizona and Nevada as two very similar states, in that the Republicans that basically rule the roost in primaries and things of that nature are very far-right, MAGA, Trump-loving supporters. But at the end of the day, the majority of the Republicans in Nevada and Arizona don't align with that. They're a bit more traditional Reagan Republicans, and that's where I think the problem is. If you want to be a hardcore MAGA, you better be running in Texas, Florida, maybe even Ohio.
But this is the question I have for you, because I'm trying to understand your thought process here. I agree with you that I don't think Katie Hobbs was a great candidate, right? She didn't get out there and campaign enough, in my personal opinion. She should have debated Kari Lake. But with that being said, let's forget about, obviously you agree with probably a lot of Kari Lake's policies when it comes to abortion and a lot of other things that conservatives would support. I understand that. But isn't this the bigger picture here? We're talking about, and this is the reason why Republicans didn't have the great night that they expected. It's because of people like Kari Lake, election denying, the hateful, negative rhetoric, going after members of the media constantly, every single day. Kari Lake is a mini Trump, and I know you don't support Trump these days. What is the difference between Kari Lake and Donald Trump? To me, they're alike. You don't support Donald Trump. You've been honest. You've told me that.
I've been honest about that.
What's the difference between Kari Lake?
But I'll be honest with you as well, that if Donald Trump is the nominee, he will have my support in the general election.
You would at this point.
Because there's no way on earth I'm voting for Joe Biden. And because I vote party over the person, as much as it freaking pains me sometimes. Now, here in the state of Nevada, we have this great option on the ballot that not every state has, and you can vote for none of the above.
But
and I've done that more than once.
I have to dissect that, because I know you're not alone with that opinion, but here you have a man who is being investigated for literally everything, from stealing money from fundraisers, reallocating money, basically stealing from people. We're talking about the election denying nonsense. He's investigated for as you know, the classified document situation. He's got lawsuits everywhere inciting January 6th. And you're telling me you would still vote for him, all those things over Donald Trump's head, because you don't like the Democrats' policies?
When it comes to the office of presidency, yes, I will always vote, even if I don't love. So, for example, I did not really love John McCain. Mm-hmm. He wasn't my favorite presidential nominee back in 2008. Right, 2008, but I voted for him because that's what I had to do. Now, the difference is, and this is what I was trying to allude to, on November 3rd, when I voted, because I early voted in my Albertsons, there were Republicans that I could not cast a ballot for because of who they are as human beings.
Yeah.
Okay. I know them more intimately because I've been a member of the media here for 10 years. I've ran for office myself. I know these people far more intimately than I know Kari Lake or Herschel Walker or Dr. Oz. And so I have a lot more personal opinion that comes into the way that I cast my ballot.
I understand
here,
that,
and I don't have that with them. I've never met Kari Lake a day in my life.
But I have to ask you this question in this way. And I'm not trying to say that you're a Trump cult member, because I don't think you are. But I'm going to ask you this question. I understand you don't like Joe Biden. Let's assume Joe Biden's running again. By the way, I don't want Joe Biden to run again.
Nobody does.
But with that being said, if you voted against Trump, Biden would have my vote. What would it take? What does Donald Trump have to do for you to sit here and say, all right, you know what? Enough's enough. I can't vote for. Does he have to kill somebody? What does Donald Trump have to do with all the stuff he's already done, whether it be inciting an insurrection, attacking our democracy? The list goes on and on. I don't want to go through it again.
I mean,
what does it take for you to say, you know what? as much as I don't want Joe Biden to be president, I have to vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump.
So there's no scenario that will get me to vote for Joe Biden. There's no scenario.
So he could kill somebody.
Nope, but you didn't let me finish.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead. Sorry.
There's no scenario in which I will ever vote for Joe Biden. There is no scenario, I believe, that I will ever vote for a Democrat for president. There is a scenario where I am so disgusted, I just don't bother to vote for that particular office.
So you are saying it is possible you wouldn't vote for Donald Trump without voting for Joe Biden?
It is possible that I would. So there was one race on my ballot when I voted that I picked. There wasn't the option of none of the above. I literally just picked no one.
So let me
left it blank.
So let me ask you this. Okay, understood. I did that when Hillary Clinton ran against Donald Trump. Now, I regret that. I should have voted for Hillary Clinton for obvious reasons that I talk about on this show all the time. So let me ask you in a different way then.
Okay.
What would it take? What does Donald Trump have to do for you just not to vote for him? Forget about the Democrats. Forget about Joe Biden.
He may have already done it.
So you're saying there's a possibility you might not vote for Donald Trump?
There is a possibility that I may not vote for that office.
Understood.
Doesn't mean that I'm not going to vote and that I'm not still the hardcore conservative
Michelle,
I always have and always will be.
Michelle, that
you
seems...
love getting me in trouble.
No.
And he's like, I'm going to make sure Michelle can never run for office.
No. Michelle, that sounds to me to be a more logical answer.
Yeah.
And a reasonable answer, what you just said. Listen, you're entitled to your opinions.
He really upset me. I feel my opinion began to turn very, very hard on Donald Trump 2020 around Thanksgiving time.
Why?
Because this lie that he was perpetuating, that evidently I was the only one smart enough in the Republican Party to know it was a lie.
Which one? There's thousands of
that,
them.
That Mike Pence could overturn the election. And this lie that was being perpetuated where people were just so excited. And I was like, no. What world do you live on that you think the vice president can overturn the election?
So that's what put you over the edge.
And that really was what put that for me.
What about the months before lying about the election, saying he won in a landslide? That didn't bother you?
It did. You asked me what my breaking point was.
Understood.
And I'm being very honest with you. And so that every Republican freaking hates me, Brian, which I think is your ultimate goal. I want to make Michelle never runs for office again.
No.
But
it's not about that, Michelle.
It's that constitutionally, I'm a constitutionalist, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt there was no way Mike Pence could overturn this election.
Right.
And it was sickening to me that we had people who were not educated enough in the Constitution listening to pundits on freaking Facebook and YouTube tell you that he could when there was no way that could have happened. And for me, that was a real breaking point. That is my personal opinion. But that said, I'm still going to want a Republican as president over a Democrat. But I do believe, and this is my fear, that Donald Trump is so divisive that I don't know that this country can take another 4 years of him. I want it to be Ron DeSantis or Glenn Youngkin or Mike Pompeo so bad
it's not,
that I can't even...
Mike Pompeo, I just want to throw up.
Okay, he's not that bad.
But,
Jeez Louise. And
anyway,
he's lost a ton of weight, and I'm super jealous.
Another Trump defender. But anyway, all right.
No. Mike Pompeo's had a real change of heart.
Well, it's too late for that. Mike Pence has too, and he's a coward as well. And this guy.
Well, I don't think Mike Pence should run. I've never mentioned his name
he's
in
an
that
idiot.
capacity.
He's a coward. A complete coward. And then in the interview, we could talk about this a little later, but we got John Ralston. He did an interview with ABC where he said, I talked to Donald Trump and I told him to find Jesus. I'm like, you are a complete...
Who said that?
Mike Pence said that in the first conversation he had with Donald Trump after the insurrection. You need to find Jesus. That shows you the stupidity of Mike Pence.
I don't know. I actually agree with that. He does need to find Jesus.
Does Donald Trump
I believe that there's a part of him that has kind of, as he's gotten to know, but I think he doesn't fully understand. As the woman here who's married to a pastor and I'm a licensed minister myself, let me just say, I do believe he needs to find Jesus.
We got to take a break, but as Jimmy Kimmel said, even Jesus would say, "Oh, don't bring him over here. I don't want to deal with him." Anyway,
that's not true.
We'll take a quick break, and when
we need to have church chat?
We'll take a break, and when we come back, John Ralston will be joining us from the Nevada Independent. I know he's going to have some very strong opinions on what Michelle Fiore said about Amy Tarkanian last night. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Best of Las Vegas winners each of the last 2 years. Glazed Donuts is a family business. Taste the passion and quality in each delectable handmade donut. Experience amazing fresh donuts at Glazed Donuts, located at 6545 South Fort Apache Road on the southwest corner of Sunset. Glaze is open every day from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're interested in large orders, please call them at 702-246-2888. Follow Glaze on Facebook and Instagram, where they're showing off all their delicious treats. And check them out at glazedonutslv.com.
Experience the Artisan Hotel's themed suites, restaurant, bar, pool, and complimentary valet. During the week, the Artisan is a quiet Las Vegas retreat that's great for travelers and locals. The weekend is all about nonstop partying and the award-winning Artisan nightlife. All rooms include free gym access and Wi-Fi. The Artisan Hotel is centrally located between the Strip and downtown Las Vegas. Book your stay at artisanhotel.com. The Artisan Hotel, your unique Las Vegas boutique hotel.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
Shopping is always easy with the Radio Shopping Show. Whether it's shopping during any one of our live shows right here on AM 1400 or listening live on the KSHP app, you can always call in at 702-221-7283 to pick up great deals with your favorite host. Or shop 24/7 at kshp.com. Go to kshp.com and select Shopper's Guide to browse hundreds of businesses featured on the show. Place your order online and we'll have it shipped right to your front door. With so many possibilities, it's hard not to shop.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment and work injuries, you name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. I think Michelle Fiore pushed the limits a little bit yesterday, a little bit too far. I hate to even repeat it, but, you know, she called Amy Tarkanian a whore. I just spoke with Amy Tarkanian. She's agreed to come on the show tomorrow. She put out a written statement, but she'll be coming on the show tomorrow, and I'll talk to her about that. And somebody who has been outspoken about this, and rightfully so. Somebody who's been at a pretty busy week, and I've been bugging him nonstop to come on the show because I know how busy John Ralston from the Nevada Independent has been, and I really do appreciate him joining us right now on the line. John, you've been a very busy man, rightfully so, for the last week, and you've done a great job, by the way, with all the.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you've done an awesome job. How you doing?
I'm tired.
I bet you've been a busy guy. Obviously, I want to talk to you, and thanks so much for coming on as always. I want to talk to you about, obviously, the local election spectrum, but I got to start with this Michelle Fiore story. Her comments yesterday and what she called Amy Tarkanian, I'm sure you would agree with me, it is disgusting. When you first heard this, see, it really didn't even surprise me because this is who Michelle Fiore is, and you spoke about that, but what do you make of this story?
Well, I often think my capacity for being shocked one, but it's not. And Michelle Fiore talk like James Carville trailer crash in terms of how she talks about other human beings, not just Amy Tarkanian, but others. This is who she really is, and it came out that she tried to pretend to be the classy, defeated candidate and put out a statement of concession and called Zach Conine the treasurer. That's all an act. This is the real Michelle Fiore. She is not a good person. Amy Tarkanian and I have disagreed many times on things, but Amy is a good and wonderful person in many ways. She's a phenomenal mother. People don't even know that side of her. For her to have to absorb that, for others to have to hear and I'll use the word, Brian, slanderous things that she said on stage at Stoney's with that idiot chairman, Michael McDonald, standing right next to her, and Sigal Chattah, who has said her share of unhinged things up on stage there. This is the Republican Party in Nevada. This is who they are.
Yeah, and you just alluded to that. That was my next question to you. Not just Michelle Fiore. You have Michael Ronald McDonald, as I like to call him, standing there laughing, and you have others there. And I spoke to a few people, John, that were at that event, and they said to me, oh, yeah, those were despicable comments. And my response to them was, then why didn't you say something? Why didn't somebody take the microphone from her? Why didn't somebody stand up and say that is inappropriate? You shouldn't be talking about anybody that way, especially Amy Tarkanian. They're all cowards, aren't they, John? Nobody's saying anything that night or even today.
But this is where they are right now, Brian. This is how they behave towards Trump when he does outrageous stuff. They won't call him out. Even Joe Lombardo, who is about to become governor and is not like any of these people, had to, bend the knee to Trump after saying he was a sound president during the debate, then went to great later that afternoon. And by the time he was on stage with him, he was the greatest president ever. This is what the Republican Party has become. It is a cult where this kind of low-life behavior is not just tolerated, but celebrated. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of wonderful Republicans. I'm not doing like some of my best friends are Republicans thing on you here, but there are. But so many of them won't say a damn word because they're afraid of angering the quote-unquote base.
You agree? I agree with you 100%. If you're just joining us, he is John Ralston from the Nevada Independent. Okay, John, let's talk a little bit about the local election spectrum. Obviously, the news that broke out yesterday is that Adam Laxalt finally conceded. Did that surprise you at all, being that he is an election denier, that he actually finally conceded that he lost?
It surprised me it took as long as he did. He clearly wants to run for something again. That's all he does, right? And so he'll run for something again. And the election denying shtick is pretty much worn thin. He avoided talking about that for much of the campaign, but Catherine Cortez Masto did call him out on it in a few venues. But that concession was really something too. It was obviously written by somebody other than Adam Laxalt. And the tone, I still can't believe, I'm sorry to say this, people are saying how classy he was in that concession speech and how great that he conceded, because he is, as you pointed out, an election denier. What a low bar to get over, right? Yeah. That he's classy. And he still had to talk about how, we lost because of mail ballots and ballot harvesting. I have one question for you, Brent. How did the guy at the top of the ticket win then? Joe Lombardo won.
That is a fantastic point, and that's what I bring up all the time. If people want to talk about how mail-in ballots are so bad, then what about all the Republicans in this country that won? Why aren't they talking about that? It makes absolutely no sense to me. One thing I do want to bring up with you is that there was not one election denier that ran for Secretary of State throughout the country, not just Jim Marchant here, that won. What do you make of that?
It's hard to, I don't know all the details at a granular level of these other campaigns, Brian, so I hesitate to comment on it and to say that there's national recognition now that these people don't belong in office. But I'm hoping that what happened in those other states is what happened here, is that people came out, major business groups came out and said no to Jim Marchant. You had Republicans like Amy Tarkanian and others say no to Jim Marchant. And by the way, Michelle Fiore, who is either not much better or worse than Jim Marchant when it comes to election denial and being completely unhinged. So listen, I think it's good that they all lost. It's important for democracy in America. But I want people to take a step back before they say everything's right with the world again. Jim Marchant got more than 450,000 votes. It's not like he lost on a landslide. Yeah. A few other things go differently. I think Cisco Aguilar's campaign at the end exposed him pretty well on TV. I thought they waited too long, and I was quite concerned that he had a chance to win based on the polling. But this is not a sea change. This is a phew, we survived this.
Yeah. John, in your estimation, why did Steve Sisolak lose his reelection campaign?
A lot of people have asked me that question, as you might imagine, since the results came in, Brian. And here's what I'd say. It's the same answer as to how did Catherine Cortez Masto survive, which is this. When you lose by 14,000 votes, and that's what it's going to end up being for Steve Sisolak out of 1 million cast, it's not just one thing. It's a confluence of things. And was there a straw that broke the camel's back? I don't know. But a lot of people, Democrats, independents, and Republicans, blame Steve Sisolak for what I call the COVID hangover, whether fairly or not. And I think he had to make some really, really difficult decisions that he knew would be a political liability. So that certainly cost him. The way that Lombardo's campaign exploited the so-called North Shore scandal, that certainly cost him. And Lombardo's campaign did what very few Republican campaigns have been able to do in this state in recent years, Brian, and that they threaded the needle. They went up against the Democratic machine that has been very, very effective, and they barely survived.
Yeah. On a national spectrum, what do you make of Donald Trump's speech last night? I mean, I was going over all the lies in his speech yesterday, and it seemed to me that it was kind of boring, and it wasn't the normal Donald Trump energy-wise. I mean, I think a lot of Republican pundits were saying that yesterday as well. What did you make of the speech? We all knew the announcement was coming, but what did you make of what took place last night at Mar-a-Lago?
I have to be honest with you, Brian. I was happily and then unhappily at the Golden Knights game last night and did not have to listen to Donald Trump's speech, and I have not taken the time to watch it. I don't care what he said, and I'm an outlier on this. Everyone thinks I'm nuts. I said it in a speech yesterday. He will not be on the ballot in 2024. Mark my words.
That would not surprise me one bit. By the way, I'm sorry about the Vegas Golden Knights yesterday. How did they lose to the Sharks, John? What the hell happened there?
It was terrible. They gave away the game. They gave away the game in the third period. It happened in the space of about 2 minutes. They had a power play, don't score. I know you don't really want to the answer to this, but I'm going to tell you anyhow. They had a power play, don't score. Then they get a penalty, and the Sharks get a goal. And then it was difficult. My stepdaughter's a huge Golden Knights fan, and I love taking her to the games with my wife and I, and we still have a great time there. But I happily did not think of Donald Trump once during that entire game.
I applaud you for that. And maybe I talk about Donald Trump a little bit too much these days, but I just think he's such a danger to this country, and he has been for quite some time. And he's caused so much damage. And, people want to bring up how, the cost of eggs have gone up and gas prices and all that. And by the way, I don't blame Joe Biden for all of that either. But, the dangers that are happening in this country and the election denying, do you feel that maybe we're on the downhill ride now, and maybe the election deniers, maybe most of these Republicans are saying, okay, we probably need to go a different route? Because I don't know if that's the case with Trump running again, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Carrie Lake lost. We know that. She's not going to concede ever. But what do you make of this? Do you think that we are on the downhill with this type of rhetoric and election denying, or do you feel like the fact that Trump is running again, it's not going anywhere?
I don't think there's any percentage in what I do or what you do, Brian, in not being optimistic and not thinking, okay, maybe we are moving away from this. But it's going to be very difficult. The damage that already has been done, and it's not just Trump, by the way, it's all of the people who are supposed leaders in elective office and in the business community and in the political parties in each state who have gone along with this and echoed this election denialism. They have caused 70% of Republicans to believe the 2020 election was stolen. You can't just undo that overnight. And as I said to you earlier, the fact is Jim Marchant and Michelle Fiore did not lose in landslides. They barely lost. I mean, they clearly lost, but they barely lost. And so, listen, I hope that this is the first sign that we're moving away from it. But if he's still going to be in the forefront, and if these people are not going to give up saying what they have said, I mean, Adam Laxalt, the candidate for U.S. Senate in Nevada, has never recanted anything that he said about the 2020 election. He's never apologized for any of that, and he didn't in that concession statement. My feeling on this, I've been very outspoken about this and very public about it, is until you apologize or recant or both, I don't want to hear anything you have to say, because you are disqualified from holding public office, in my estimation.
Couldn't agree with you more. One of my biggest concerns with Joe Lombardo, and I don't think the sky is going to fall. He's not one of those election deniers, but he is a Trumper, and I think at times two-faced. And we can go on and on about criticisms of Joe Lombardo, but this is my biggest criticism, John, as you, a member of the media, and myself. You heard the story about how a member of the Las Vegas Sun wasn't allowed to see his acceptance speech. They wouldn't let that reporter in, who I spoke with, by the way, and the reporter was told, "Oh, there's not enough room for you." Now, we all know that was a lie. Lombardo is the one who, with the Klubeck situation where they were texting each other. We all know that story where Klubeck released the text messages where Lombardo said he basically wanted to get rid of the Las Vegas Sun if he becomes governor. I find that to be dictatorship. When they start doing that, I get very, very concerned. Sisolak didn't like some reporters in this town, but he never said, no, that person can't come in. That person can't come in. This, to me, this is very dangerous and very concerning. If Lombardo's going to be the governor and he's not going to allow, or members of his staff, which goes through him, are not going to allow certain members of the media to cover an event and get information. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I mean, you said a lot there, and let me just say generally what my feeling is about this is I always think it's a mistake, no matter how hostile you might think an outlet is to you, if you're an elected official, to cut them off. There is no percentage in that, because they're going to still write about you, do whatever they're going to do, and you should always try to get your side out to them. So I've been cut off by people. I was cut off by Harry Reid, who I'm writing a book about, for a couple of years. And when he finally decided not to, I'm not making this about me, I'm just trying to make a point here. When he finally decided to talk to me again, he said, who do you think lost in this, Senator? I wrote columns about you for 2 years and you didn't talk to me. So I think it's a mistake from a substantive point of view. But let me get back to something you said. The stupid flippant comment that Lombardo made in that text to Klubeck is all that was. He's not going to try to shut down the Las Vegas. That's just nonsense. And the Sun's leadership totally overreacted to that to try to draw attention to the Sun. Okay, been there, seen that. I get it. Listen, you can't judge someone for what they do right in the aftermath of a very, very nasty campaign. And so I do not think that Joe Lombardo is going to make it a practice of excluding the media. If he does that, then I think it becomes a serious issue once he actually becomes governor. But right after a campaign, people say stupid things. They do stupid things. I cut them some slack. I can't believe this is going to be the practice of the Lombardo administration.
Well, I'm happy to hear you say that. And I hope you're right, because
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We don't know what kind of governor he's going to be.
We remember what the White House did and Trump did with Jim Acosta with his credentials, and it's happened in the Trump administration. I hope you're right. I hope Lombardo doesn't do this, because if he does, they all want to talk about freedom of speech. Well, what about freedom of the press? We can't have these tax.
I think if he doesn't when he's governor, we should all yell at the top of our lungs. I think
that's fair to say.
I can't believe he's going to do that. But you know what? It's possible that I'm wrong. I know the people around him, and they're not dumb. But it's a much bigger question what kind of governor Joe Lombardo is going to be, because he really is still relatively unfamiliar with state issues, and so what his policies are going to be, we're going to get a good sense of that once he starts hiring people in his administration. If he's just going to hire, as you would put it, Trumpers or MAGA types, or substantive policy people who know how to deal with the legislature. I think it's going to be the latter. I'm going to go back to what I said, Brian. Let's be hopeful. Let's be hopeful.
I'm okay being hopeful. And that was my last question for you. But, as Joe Lombardo, the sheriff, I don't think he was the most transparent sheriff. I think Kevin McMahill is going to be a great sheriff. I know Kevin pretty well. I think he's a decent man, and he is transparent. And I think he'll be a better sheriff. Again, those are some of my issues with Joe Lombardo. He doesn't like to be challenged. He gets angry when people challenge him. That could be a reporter, or maybe it could be someone within his staff. I've talked to people that have worked for him at Metro. Some say good things about him. Some say not so good things about him. He seems to be a hot-tempered guy. He doesn't like to be challenged. And we all know when you put your name in the hat and when you're going to be our next governor, you're going to be challenged by a lot of people and a lot of Democrats. That is another concern I have for Lombardo. Do you think that's fair?
I don't know. Listen, temperament's always an issue in politics, but I've never met anybody in elective office, from governor down to city council, who likes being challenged. Okay, right. They have a certain level of ego when they run for the job, and they get it. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be if it descends into narcissism and they don't listen to reason, and they think they're always right. Again, right. I don't. Metro has always been a relatively opaque organization, no matter who the sheriff is. Cops generally don't want to share information with the public if they don't have to. That's neither a criticism or praise. It's an observation. And I cut my teeth covering cops way back when, and probably before you were born. So the bottom line is, I know how cops are. I know what their mentality is in general. Listen. I don't think Joe Lombardo yet, and this is not necessarily a criticism either, because it could have been said maybe of Steve Sisolak as well, but to a lesser extent, has no idea what he's in for, being governor and having to deal with a democratically controlled legislature that doesn't really care what he wants.
Yeah, no, very true. Well, John, I'll say this in closing, my friend. You have always been the go-to guy for me in my life when it comes to elections, local elections, and you do such a great job, you and your staff over there at the Nevada Independent, which is a nonprofit. I recommend anybody go there and donate and help, because you are the voice of reason. I've always said that about you. And how much sleep have you had since Election Day? That's what I want to know. Like, what was the average night of sleep for John Ralston, like the day after Election Day? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, listen, the answer is certainly not enough. And I really do at some point need to get some rest. But, you can operate for a few days on adrenaline, no matter how old you are. But it takes its toll eventually. So I'll relax at some point.
Good. Relax. I've watched all your appearances, especially on MSNBC, and you're awesome, John. And I'm sorry for bugging you all week, but I appreciate you taking the time to come on, as always, man. You're the best. You know how much I respect you and what you do over there at the Nevada Independent. John Ralston.
I've told you this before, Brian. Sorry to interrupt you. I've told you this before, but listen, I do go on TV a lot during election times, and I go on radio and I do podcasts, and nobody is as prepared as you are. You're not just some guy who just talks. You know your stuff. You talk to other people. You've read stuff, and I'm not just blowing smoke just because I'm talking to your audience. I'm telling you, people don't know how rare that is in the business that you're in, and so I appreciate it. And that's why, while you are very annoying and a pain, that I decided to come on eventually.
That's what all my ex-girlfriends say about me too. So, yeah, join the club. No, John, I appreciate those words. That really means a lot. And I'll try not to bug you too much, but I always appreciate it when you come on. John Ralston, everybody. Thank you so much, John. Great to see you. Get some rest, my friend.
My pleasure.
Appreciate that. That's John Ralston. Very nice, kind words. And I mean, everything I've said about him, there are not many people like John Ralston. I mean, he just said the same thing about me. And yes, he's right. I could be very annoying. Just join the club, everybody. No, I was bugging John to come on last week, and we know how busy he was, and I really do appreciate him coming on. But say what you want about some of his opinions. John Ralston, to me, is one of the best journalists when it comes to covering politics, not just locally and in the state of Nevada, but in the country, because he calls out Democrats too. Heck, he said it himself. Harry Reid didn't even want to talk to him for a while. He calls out politicians. He calls it for what it is. He doesn't care about the ramifications of it. He's honest. He's a very hard worker. And any single moment I wanted to get the latest on the election results and the ballots coming in, the Nevada Independent worked tirelessly to get the latest numbers.
His early voting blog as well. I mean, I don't know how many people follow as religiously as people like myself do, but it is a staple that every consultant, every candidate, and everyone who's involved in elections and in media, they rely on that early voting blog. I can't imagine how hard he works on that blog, going over the data and all the math that he goes over every day to figure out how many ballots are still out there, where we're at, what the firewall is at. He really does an excellent job. He's not always been a fan of mine. I'm sure he's not a fan of mine today, but I can say without hesitation, he does excellent work. And that early voting blog is just such a gem, such a resource.
Yeah, he really does. And I just think there are a lot of members of the media today that are not journalists. Maybe they're a talk show host like me, but maybe they're biased. And there's so much bias in the media, and there's so much bias when it comes to whether it be radio hosts. I guarantee you, Michelle, that none of these people are going to that are on the radio in this town, I'm going to give you some names, will not be talking about Michelle Fiore standing right next to the Republican chair, calling Amy Tarkanian a whore. You know who's not going to be bringing that up locally? Wayne Allen Kook won't be talking about this story. Alan Stock, I guarantee you, will not be talking about this story. Kevin Wall will not be talking about this story. And you know why they're not going to be bringing this up? I'll tell you why. Because they are a right-wing echo chamber. One-sided. And I can tell you right now and look you in the eye and tell you, Michelle, that if a Democrat, I mean, this would never happen. But let's just say for a moment, and this would never happen because I like Catherine Cortez Masto, but I'm just using this as an example. If Catherine Cortez Masto got up on a stage and called a female, a Democrat, a whore, I would be the first person to be talking about it on the radio today. And John Ralston would be calling her out. And I would be having a conversation with you about it. Because that's what somebody who is fair and reasonable and not biased would do. You know, I remember, who's the guy from New York? Anthony Weiner, right? I interviewed Anthony Weiner before the whole scandal took place. I liked Anthony Weiner. I liked his passion. I liked his politics. There was a lot about Anthony Weiner that I really liked. And I said, not only could this guy be a great mayor one day, maybe a president.
You just didn't like it when he started showing off his wiener.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I
mean, can I just be any more blunt about it? That's what you didn't like.
But I was the first person. I mean, maybe not the first person, but I constantly trashed him. Did he commit a sexual assault? No. But what he did was beyond inappropriate and disgusting. And it was embarrassment to his constituents, to Democrats, and I called it out, right? But I feel like when Republicans do stuff like that, you don't hear conservative talk show hosts ever talking about it. And to me, that's very frustrating. And make no mistake about it, and then we'll move on. But what Michelle Fiore did, every Republican, even if you're a Michelle Fiore supporter, every Republican today should in some way, shape, or form call it out. Because it's disgusting, it's wrong, there's no place for that in politics. And the fact that there are so many silent Republicans in this city and in this state that are not calling her out, I agree with John Ralston. It speaks volumes about where the Republican Party is today. I know they're not. I'm not calling out everyone.
Can I argue one point with you though?
Yes.
Okay, so when Michelle, 2 years ago now, made the racist comments at another CCRP meeting, you know, nobody had the video then, and of course she denied it, and no one really called her out, and everyone circled the wagons around her, right? One of the problems is that if you go after Michelle Fiore, she goes after you with full force, and she fights mean. And she's gone after me with full force, with hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to destroy me. So there's a part of it that you have to look at it this way. A, no one wants to call her out because no one wants to fight with her and nobody wants her wrath. And number two, it's because those that were there, and like I said, very small attendance at this event that was held yesterday, they're the ones who actually agree with her and like her brash and sassiness and like those types of things she say. So I realized normal Republicans like myself weren't there. And unless they're paying attention to what John's tweeting today, they don't even know that it happened.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know it happened, but I look at John Ralston's feed every day, and he's a great follow on Twitter, by the way. And that's when I first learned about what took place, and I was still scrambling, looking for the audio. There's a video and there's audio of it somewhere. I just haven't found it yet, Michelle, but it's out there. And Amy Tarkanian has agreed to come on the show tomorrow, and I've had plenty of disagreements. I've probably called the Tarkanians right-wing buffoons, but
I'm not their biggest fans either, but I agree that what Michelle did was wrong. And what really gets me about what Michelle did was she accused her of having an alleged affair with another married Democrat politician.
Yeah.
And for me as a wife and a mother, that reeks. I just hate that. That is so inappropriate and wrong on so many levels that I just
should disqualify her from ever running for office.
But it won't. But she's going to run for mayor in 2024.
Well,
she hasn't announced yet. She's not pulling a Donald Trump.
Let's play the ad. People want to play ads. Republicans, let's go, Brandon. I want Democrats to play ads of Michelle Fiore calling Amy Tarkanian a whore. Play it over and over again. And I know Amy Tarkanian.
But remember, the Democrats spent tons of money with that fake PAC to encourage people to vote for Fiore and Segal and Marchant. And at the end of the day, it got them to win the primaries, and they ended up losing the generals. But just like John said, it was very, very close.
I disagree with Amy Tarkanian's politics when it comes to almost every issue. But I will say this. She's a decent mom. She's a good mom. She seems like a good wife, a loyal wife. She's not a stupid woman. She's educated. And she has some decency and class. I will say that about Amy Tarkanian. And I appreciate the fact that she's coming on the show tomorrow. I want to hear from her. She deserves a voice on this, and I know she put out a written statement. I appreciate the fact that she has agreed to come on the show tomorrow. This needs to be called out. This needs to be called out now from everybody, and this has to stop. And Michael McDonald, you are a clown, and you are a fool, and you are a disgrace to the Republican Party. I'm not a Republican, but I'm going to tell you right now, you are a disgrace to the Republican Party here.
I will be curious to see. So you're talking about it today. John's tweeting about it. But will any of the big four in town, will 8, 13, 5, 3, will any of them cover this?
Michelle, they should.
But the point I'm trying to make is, I highly doubt it. And you can tell me I'm wrong if you're like, oh, during the 6 o'clock news today, Channel 8 ran that. But I bet you dollars to donuts, Channel 8 isn't going to run it today.
They might not. I think if you can get a comment from Amy Tarkanian, they probably would. But this is more of a, I hate to say it, but it's more of like a political,
it's really
Fox
political,
News, CNN type story.
It's real insider baseball stuff. Even some of the folks on TikTok were like, God, I'm not following Vegas politics, but this is juicy. Yeah. Like, it's just such inside baseball that it's not.
You know what I mean, though, Michelle? It's at Channel 8, Channel 3. You know this. You've been in the business for years.
I worked there.
This is not really a gossip. They're more of hard news.
Right.
And this is more of
it's not really something that they're going to cover.
This is a talk show type story.
Yes.
Or a national after 5 p.m. story that maybe a CNN or a Fox News would cover.
Correct.
It's not really a local story.
No.
And the reason why it's not is because this speaks volumes to me about where the alt-right is right now. And it's unfortunate.
It's a little gossipy, too, because the exact quote, we're not playing the video clip here, but the exact quote, she didn't mention Amy by name. Right. She didn't mention Aaron Ford by name. She did it in all these like clouded, this person who's having this, who's a drunk. And people put 2 and 2 together and go, oh, that's who she's talking about. But at the end of the day, it was a very veiled and slander. That's why it's not going to make news, because that's the one thing that Fiore does really well, is that she protects herself by how she says certain things. She didn't mention her by name, and that's how it worked out.
All right. Number to call, 702-221-7283. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Usually I don't take the same caller twice in a show, but I'll make an exception for John. John, what's up?
Hey, man, Brian, I usually say, hey, man, and Michelle, I can't say that when you're there. Hey, I just did a quick Google search. Guess what? Amy Tarkanian's already suing Michael McDonald.
Oh, good.
Tarkanian, Elliot Malin, and Jason Gusano are suing him for saying that they were making money by endorsing the Democrats or something
Okay, good.
like that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Amy
Look, it's on the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Article by Colton Lockheed, dated October 21st of this year. So
I will ask Amy.
I got to run. I got to go get some more popcorn, buddy.
All right, John, thank you for that information. Amy Tarkanian will be joining us on the show tomorrow. I will ask her about that. I think she should also sue Michelle Fiore for defaming. I mean, that it doesn't get worse than that. When you call somebody a whore publicly like that and something that is not true about some sort of extramarital affair she might have had with a Democrat.
But I don't think the lawsuit would win simply because, and I mean, I'm not a lawyer, maybe John would know better, but she didn't mention her by name. So you have to know the inside baseball to know who she's talking about, because even when you first told me what was said, I actually thought she was talking about another woman that she hates.
Well, we know who she's talking about now. Maybe you're right, but
I don't think it's a good suit.
Yes.
I think the lawsuit against Michael McDonald, I don't know that that's going anywhere either.
Well, let's have some fun when we come back. We've talked about a lot of very serious
What are we going to talk about
right?
that's fun?
Well, the holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to tonight? I'm going to, what is that thing at the Motor Speedway? What do they call that?
Oh, the
glittering lights.
The lights, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a date tonight. You know who I'm going out with tonight?
Are you going out with the pretty girl that you met a little while ago?
Guess who I have a date with? Chris Wynn.
Oh, well.
Yeah, not so pretty.
That's a mandate, and that's a mandate none of us want to be a part of. But you and Chris have fun at the Motor Speedway looking at the lights. Be all basic with your hot cocoa. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, no touching on this.
Is Chris going to at least wear a wig?
No, because I don't want him to look like Michelle Fiore.
Okay.
No. Remind me.
My.
That'll remind me of Michelle Fiore. Anyway, maybe he'll put underwear on his face. I don't know. But no, Chris Wynn, he's never been to Glittering Lights before. Hey, it's a fun event. It's for charity.
I've never been.
It's awesome. So they feed you very well. And there's a little bit of entertainment, and then you get in your car. I think you can go in the little truck with hay, you know, and it gets a little chilly, but I got to say, they really do a great job out there. I look forward to this event every year, and the media night is tonight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some celebrities that I ran into last night accidentally. I want to talk to you a little bit about that.
At Sapphire?
I did.
So you're going to out these celebrities and let them know
well,
that
they're musicians, but
Okay.
and one musician that's agreed to come on the show. So we'll talk a little bit about that and what the holidays coming up. And I got to mention UNLV basketball real quickly too, because they had a huge win yesterday. So we'll talk about that. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care. They're located at Sahara and Jones, right down the street here. Give them a call, 702-248-0554. No appointment needed. You can just walk right in there. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes. The staff is great. The people are great. They will take care of you. They took care of me. Check out their website, by the way, SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
As a 3-time international award-winning restaurant, Joe's New York Pizza uses only the freshest and best available ingredients. From giant slices of hand-tossed pie to calzones, strombolis, fingers, and wings, Joe's serves all your favorites. Stop in for a slice at one of their 2 Las Vegas locations at Paradise and Harmon or South Las Vegas Boulevard, or you can check out their menu at joesnewyorkpizzalv.com.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Whether you're a corporate...
STN Sports is the only sports betting app you need this season. STN Sports has it all. In-play betting, mobile parlay cards, the Play Plus card to fund and withdraw from anywhere in Nevada, and the latest lines on every game. STN Sports even lets you earn rewards on every bet. Safe and easy betting from your phone or tablet. Go to stationcasinosports.com or sign up at any Station Casino, Fiesta Wildfire, or the El Cortez. Details at the sports books.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. I don't know what's going on in studio today, but it smells like Chris Wynn was farting all day in this studio. I don't know. Justin, would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something in the,
He's like secretly trying to sabotage somehow.
Yeah.
Anyway, Amy Tarkanian will be joining us on the show tomorrow at 12:30 to respond to Michelle Fiore's statements, calling her a whore, among other things.
Can you do me a favor? Can you start referring to her by her last name? Because I swear to God, people are going to think you're talking about me. Let's just call her Fiore.
Fiore, I'm sorry. I don't think any reasonable person would think that you would talk about somebody like that.
I would hope not, but
No.
if people just hear it in passing.
The woman who puts underwear on her face, the racist clown Michelle Fiore, calling Amy Tarkanian a whore. That's where the Republican Party is at right now, I guess. So Amy is nice enough. She'll be joining us tomorrow on the show. I want to tell you guys about my favorite gaming bar in town, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Everything seems to be on Jones, right? The Sahara West Urgent Care, Jackson's. Every Sunday, $50 free play if you earn 200 points. Tuesdays and Thursdays, a free wine giveaway if you earn 200 points. Some restrictions apply. Every Vegas Golden Knights games, all TVs and sound and Pass the Puck went up to 100 in free play per period just for playing. Check out Jackson's Bar and Grill. We got Michelle Mortensen in studio. I don't know why it smells so horrible in here.
It's not me. Now they're going to think you're talking about me. It's the cougar.
I can tell you right now, if I ever have BO, and I'm sure there are times in my life that I absolutely do, it's not today. Believe it or not, I did take a shower this morning, and I did put on deodorant. But it's not that kind of smell in
no,
here today.
it smells like a sewer.
Yeah, there's something going on in here, man.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird.
Someone on TikTok said they think it's the heater and the dust, and it's like burning
that's what
off.
it is.
It very well could be it.
I think that person's smart and probably right, because the second I walk in the door, the heater is above, and it's got this. It just hits me right now. I'm like, what is that
TikTok
smell?
viewers to be the ones that figure out the mystery smell in the studio.
What is that smell, man? What is that smell? But anyway,
fun new game.
Had a real fun time. I wasn't able to go to the UNLV basketball game yesterday, and I wish I was, but I was at a charity event. But in regards to, I just want to mention this real quickly. I texted Kevin Kruger, and we talked for a few, and I just congratulated him because this is a very, very big win for UNLV basketball. Why? Well, first of all, Dayton, at the time, yesterday, that'll change, but they were ranked 21 in the country. Not a lot of really, really good basketball teams on UNLV's schedule. It's been a while since UNLV beat a nationally ranked team. This is a huge win for Kevin Kruger, and this is a big win for the UNLV basketball program. So congratulations to Kevin. I talked to a Division I head basketball coach that scrimmaged against UNLV, and he told me that this team is offensively challenged a little bit, but they're really, really good defensively, like really good. And that's why they'll be in games. Maybe I was wrong about UNLV. I was certainly wrong about their game yesterday, and maybe they will be able to compete in the Mountain West Conference to win a championship. I don't know. I mean, San Diego State is a top 25 team in the country. They're clearly the team that's favored to win it all. But regardless of that, this is a big win for UNLV basketball, and I'm really happy for Kevin Kruger. And this was a good basketball team that they beat. Dayton only scored 20 points in the second half. UNLV was down 10 points at the half, and they came back and they won. So nothing but positives. I'm happy for Kevin. He is a defensive-minded coach. It proved that yesterday. And I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the program, and I hope they can keep it going, and hopefully they can get better offensively. But I wanted to mention that. And even though I wasn't at the game last night, and it's probably the only game all year that I'll miss, it was probably the one game I should have been at. I was at an important event. It was called Ping Pong Palooza at Sapphire, and it was an event raising money for prostate cancer. And the money that they raised there was unbelievable. I mean, there were people that made $20,000 donations. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars were raised yesterday. And it was such an awesome event. I met some great people there yesterday. I got a trophy, a ping pong trophy. I did well. I placed. It was a team event, though, so members of my team weren't very good. Nice people, but not very good. So, but we were still able to. There were like 30 teams. We made top 5. And I'm having a conversation with this guy that I recognize because I played basketball with him in some leagues here in town, and then he told me he was the lead guitar player for the band Lifehouse. And
I remember them. They
hanging by a moment here with you.
Yeah.
You know that song?
Yeah.
And he's been in some other 90s alternative rock bands that I'm fans of.
Like which ones?
What is the I Want to Dance with You on a Mountain? What's that band?
Why can't I think of that?
You know that song, though, right?
Yeah. I do know what you're singing, but I can't think of who it is.
I wanna live. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, Justin will figure it out. But anyway, he was in that band, and he said he's in a new band now. He lives here in Vegas, and I've known this guy for years. I never knew he was a musician in these huge bands. Right?
Savage Garden?
Savage Garden. He was the founding lead guitar player for Savage Garden. They were huge in the 90s.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm talking to him forever. He's going to come on our show, and he has a gig. I didn't know he runs the barbershop at Cosmopolitan, and he has a show there Saturday night. So I have a very interesting day on Saturday. Okay, so on Saturday I'm going to a Thanksgiving dinner with a friend of mine, an early Thanksgiving dinner. And then one of my favorite bands, they're actually in town today. And the reason why Stone Temple Pilots are in town today, without Scott Weiland, of course, who passed away tragically, overdose, but STP's in town today because the downtown Fremont show, what do you call that? The Fremont Experience, the video on top there. They have a new Stone Temple Pilots themed show.
Oh.
And the band Stone Temple Pilots, they're doing a Q&A with fans tonight. I think it starts like at 8 on Fremont Street.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to go to that. But Stone Temple Pilots, they're doing a free show downtown on Saturday. So I'm going to catch, they're one of my favorite bands.
That's awesome. I loved them in high school.
Yeah, they're
and every
great.
time I hear the song Plush, I think of a boy that I used to date in high school. I do. Every single time I hear it.
You and Chris went to school together? I didn't know that. Chris went?
Would you stop it? He is older than me, number one. And I never dated Chris in high school. I think he lived in Florida.
Wait, what's the opposite of a cougar then?
Yeah, it's a good question.
If he's older than you,
yeah,
wouldn't.
But he's a man, so he can't be a cougar. He's just an old dude.
Guys can be cougars. No, I don't know.
Can't guys be cougars?
Bro, anyway.
That's a good poll question.
Anyway, let's stop talking about Chris Wynn. This is obsessive. I also ran into a lovely, beautiful lady, Charlene Carabio, who has been in plenty of shows here in Vegas. She's a performer. I had a chance. I haven't seen her. She's been on my show a couple of years ago. Beautiful, very talented. She's going to come on the show. I linked up with her. Johnny Katz from the Review Journal was there.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that I knew that were there, and it was a great event. So congratulations to Sapphire for putting on 100% of the proceeds. 100%.
So how much total did they raise?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But we don't have like the exact number?
I know some people donated $20,000, $30,000, some teams. And Sapphire is not keeping $1 of that money. And it was an open bar for people that made donations. They had food, and I love that I'm a part of what they're doing. Whether you like strip clubs or not, Sapphire is just classic, great people that work there, and they help the community, and it was a great event.
I've never been to one, so I cannot judge whether
You've never been to a strip club before?
No.
Hold on a second here.
No. Why is that shocking to you? Like, that shouldn't be shocking at all.
Chippendales? You never been to a Chippendale show? Your husband never said, hey, let's mix things up a little bit. Let's go to the Chippendale show?
I am married to a pastor.
Oh, that's true. When you were in your early 20s.
Yeah.
That's strip club music?
No, it's breaking news.
Oh,
Michelle's never been to it.
I was like, what is that music?
I didn't know. Was that Atari?
Atari, right.
1985
Yes.
Atari. So when you were in your early 20s, you never had a boyfriend that said, hey, let's go to the strip club? That surprises me.
I've never been to one.
What if you were single?
Yeah.
Which you're not. But what if you were, and like, I don't know, Fabio said, hey, let's go to this. Is that something? I don't know. A good-looking guy.
Fabio?
I don't
Is
know.
Fabio good looking? I think
Enrique Iglesias. I don't know. I don't know who you think is attractive. I'm not into this. I don't know what men are.
Gavin Newsom.
Brad Pitt? Donald Trump.
I would not go to a strip club with Gavin Newsom.
How about Matt Gaetz? No, he would probably take you to an under 16 and under strip club. That's probably.
I wouldn't go to a strip club with any of those people.
All right, fair enough. So you'd be surprised to know I haven't been to strip clubs many in my life either. I've been in Vegas 20 years.
No, that's not true. You go to Sapphire a lot.
I go there because they're a sponsor, and I enjoy Monday Night Football there. But I'm not one of those people that, hey, let's look at naked women. Let's go to the strip club. I've been to a strip club probably maybe 8 or 9 times in 20 years, and every single time I've gone for that reason. I'm not including a Monday Night Football party at Sapphire. Every single time I've gone, it's for like a bachelor party or people from out of town. I've never once said, hey, let's go in the middle of the day or let's go at night.
That's what I've never understood, because like in Texas, when I was working in TV in Texas, that
horrible
was the
music,
thing.
by the way.
Yeah, I don't know this music
I don't know
either.
what.
Like, what is this?
Justin sometimes plays music, and
I don't get the joke.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, people like go like during like in Texas, there's big ones in Texas, like kind of like the Sapphire one here, and people go there for like the lunch buffets and stuff, and they go there for like lunch business meetings, and I'm like, what?
Well, here's something
awkward.
Here's something that'll blow your mind.
Okay.
They sell a bottle of champagne at Sapphire called the Ace of Spades.
Okay.
Guess how much that bottle costs? And they sell them.
Is it like Cristal or something, or?
It's very expensive.
Okay.
It's called the Ace of Spades.
Is it 10 grand?
They sell a few bottles a month.
10 grand.
No.
Higher or
Yes,
lower?
Higher.
Okay, we're playing higher or lower now.
Yeah,
50 grand.
Higher.
No.
Yeah.
100 grand.
Yes. They sell a bottle there called the Ace
What's
of
it
Spades.
come with?
I guess it's gold plate. I don't know what's on this bottle, but it doesn't really come with anything else. Just you get the bottle and you get a seat to sit in. 100 grand, and they sell a few of those a month.
Are you kidding me?
I got some names of some people that have bought it, celebrities, and I'm not allowed to say who, but there are some celebrities that have.
Do you get like anything else special? Like you get bottle service for the night, or?
I don't know. I would imagine maybe you probably get some orange juice and some soda water, and for 100 grand you probably get the.
Are they really rocking mimosas
trimmings.
at the strip club? Is that like a popular drink?
Listen, a guy that I used to talk to, I don't talk to him much anymore. It's been a while, but he's a professional poker player. His name's Antonio Esfandiari. He's called the Magician. He's a famous poker player and a very good poker player.
Okay.
He told me a story when Kobe Bryant was alive. Sadly, I wish he was still here with us, and his daughter and all those people that died on that in that crash. But he told me he was at a nightclub here in Vegas. This was maybe 10, 15 years ago. And he's at a table, and the table over is Kobe Bryant and some of his people. And they got into a battle of buying crystals. And he said he bought a $25,000 bottle. Then he bought another $25,000 bottle. Then Kobe bought another. Then he bought another. Then Kobe bought another. They both spent about a couple $100,000 each. And they were just competing against each other and laughing. And I'm like, wow,
Dang.
is that's the life, I guess.
Don't
right?
you wish that you were that much of a baller? Like I wish that you could just like throw money away on Cristal like nobody's business.
I wouldn't.
You don't want to be that
if
rich?
I had a night where I had that much money and I wanted to blow a couple $100,000, I could tell you the last thing I would do would be to go to any type of club and spend $100,000 or $200,000 on alcohol. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. I'd rather go to the nicest restaurant, like go to like Michael's or something. I don't know. Go to a really nice, expensive restaurant, sit front row for like Aerosmith or something. I mean, those are the things that I would do. And by the way, you don't need a couple $100,000 to do that. Maybe a couple thousand, not a couple $100,000.
So
I would rather do that.
I'm curious. So if you could go anywhere on the strip to eat, anywhere, we've got so many great restaurants here, and money was no object. Like you get to get whatever the heck you want. Where are you going?
That's a good question. Michael's would be one of them at the South Point. I would say Bobby
I've
Flay.
never been there.
Bobby Flay's. I really like Bizarre Meats and I've been there before. It's at where is it? The Sahara.
That's at the Sahara.
That's a great restaurant.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Have you done the whole the chef's table thing at
did
Bazaar
do the
Meats?
tasting.
Yeah,
I
the
did
tasting.
It's like a couple $100.
Yeah.
A little overpriced, but it was fantastic. The food is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those are places that I would probably frequent a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I've pretty much been, for somebody that is just some idiot AM radio host, I've been to pretty much every restaurant I've ever wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Somehow. And but the restaurants here are fantastic.
Oh my gosh, they are. I freaking love eating
I like
on the
Hugo
Strip.
Cellar. Hugo Cellar, it's not, I wouldn't say it's expensive, but Hugo Cellar downtown, no more than $100 a person, and it's fantastic.
Are you a fan? So I've never eaten there, and I don't actually want to eat there because I don't believe the hype. But do you think the Circus Steakhouse is good? Because I know everybody and their brother acts like it's freaking God's gift.
Overblown. For that place, it's very good. But I wouldn't say it's anywhere near a top 5 steakhouse.
Ew, right? It's Circus.
But it's a good steakhouse. I mean, it's not. I'm not going to say it's not a good restaurant.
It's not the Golden Steer.
No, the Golden Steer's better.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's good. Like if someone said, "Hey, you want to go to the steakhouse at Circus?" I'd say absolutely. I don't want to hang out with the pedophiles upstairs.
Right?
But yeah, I mean,
I think if you go to the Circus, you might get rickets. Like
I don't want to see. I don't want to see clowns juggling balls. I mean, I don't want to see that. But it's funny you mentioned Circus though, because my grandmother passed away when I was 12 years old. Isn't that great? Justin's timing is so awesome.
And he's talking about his grandma who passed away, and you're freaking playing circus music,
Justin picks out great music, but somehow his timing is really off. Yeah, let's talk about my dead grandmother and play some clown music. Yeah, that's anyway. No, the reason why I brought up that's okay. The reason why I brought up my grandmother is because one of my earliest memories was her and my mom took me to Vegas when I was 3 years old. And I remember this.
Really?
I do. I remember my grandmother putting me on her lap when she was playing a slot machine. I remember those slot machines being so huge. Now they're small, but I was like a 3-year-old.
I can't even believe they'd allow that, because now if you're a kid and you're anywhere on the floor, they have a freaking conniption. They're like, get that stroller off.
You're right about that. But I guess they let it happen then. And I do remember them paying a clown to come up to the hotel room and do tricks. And I remember that.
Oh my God.
That was my only memory of Las Vegas, and I was 3 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? Other than that, Circus is an absolute dump, and I don't recommend anybody going there. But if you want a really cheap room and you might get
if you want
some diseases from sleeping on the beds, then
go
check
to
them out.
Excalibur or Circus, right?
Excalibur's not exactly the classiest either. But there are plenty of nice places to stay, and rooms are expensive. So I understand tourists, they come to town, they want a cheaper room. There you go. If you just
rooms are expensive right now because we're getting into rodeo season, cowboy Christmas, all that Christmas.
We got
this is the most expensive time to freaking come to Vegas. Actually,
very true, very true.
Yeah.
By the way, here's a treat for you. It's going to be a love fest next week. So I'm leaving for Connecticut to see my family on Tuesday, and I'll be coming back over the weekend to catch the Nevada. It's funny. I timed the flight so I could get back to watch the UNLV football game versus Nevada. That's how sick I am. But Doug Basham and Michelle Mortensen are going to be doing some shows next week.
We are.
And it's a little bit of a love fest. You guys might need a room. I don't know.
Okay, let's not go that far. God, you always take it that one step too far.
I really don't want to be here for that. I might take a vacation.
I want
too.
you. That's why I want Chris.
So I'm going to run the board and co-host.
Have fun.
That's why I want Chris. That's kind of why I want Chris Wynn here, because I want him to yell at you and argue with you, and because I think it's entertaining. I'm going to be listening. I'm going to be listening to the show. So I'm going to try to convince.
So you think it's entertaining when Chris Wynn yells at me?
I think it's entertaining when you both argue.
Oh, okay.
When you both, I'm not saying I want him to treat you like Michelle Fiore treated Amy Tarkanian. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying he yells at me, by the way. I think Justin could attest to this. He gets crazy sometimes. And I think if he...
Bro!
Yeah, exactly. If he comes in and he starts yelling at you when the way he yells at me, I do find that sometimes to be very entertaining.
I think what it is that when we fight like brother and sister. It doesn't get to that snarky humor level.
That's true.
But with Basham or with Chris, we can kind of get to that snarky level.
That's why I want you.
Although
that's why I want him to come in.
I'm far more. Doug's just such a sweet guy. I just can't beat him up.
Well, I'll see how it goes. We'll see if Chris comes on. But Michelle, thank you so much for being here today. As always, I appreciate it. Good to see you. I also want to thank John Ralston for joining us today. Tomorrow. There he goes again. The timing. Was I talking about my dead grandmother? That must have been what triggered him.
Cue the clowns.
Tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of circus, the comments that Michelle Fiore made about Amy Tarkanian, calling her a whore, among other things, Amy Tarkanian is going to join us on the show tomorrow and respond to them. And Alan Snell from Las Vegas Sports Biz is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow. Why he thinks Joe Lombardo as governor is going to be bad on the sports perspective for Nevada. Interesting. So Alan will be joining us. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. Went a little late there, but thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn?